I'm John Batchelor. Mary Kissel of the Wall Street Journal editorial board is here. Mary, the vice president is in Beijing to meet with what we're told to be the future leadership of China. That would be the non-transparent bully boys' choices to take over in 2012. The vice president, to my knowledge, is not speaking of Tibet. He's not speaking of Xinjiang, the abuse of the Uyghurs. He's not speaking of the Chinese interference with the people of Taiwan. He's also not speaking with what we'd have to say are problems with cyber spying launched by a certain junior college associated with the PLA. In fact, he's doing none of the things that would represent the interests of the United States. What is he there for, Mary?
I don't know, but I have to say, John, usually when high-level U.S. officials go to China, in the past there was what we call a deliverable, meaning they would go over and get a trade deal, or they would go over and a dissident would be released. This is really remarkable to see the vice president go over and kowtow to the extent that he is.
And there's not very good coverage going on here. I understand they've been abusing the correspondents covering this, and the whole thing looks to me very much like a sidebar. The vice president doesn't have an agenda I can name.
No, he doesn't. And you mentioned all those things that the vice president is not speaking of. Well, the Chinese are speaking of Tibet. Mr. Xi made a statement today that we weren't to interfere in Tibet and Xinjiang. Xinjiang, of course, being the province in the west with
otherwise
the
known as East Turkestan, a freestanding republic. Yeah.
Exactly. So it looks to me like, a visit to be hopefully forgotten.
We connect China with an incident over this last week revealed in the Financial Times, which was that the Pakistan officials showed Chinese engineers the tail section that broke off of the stealthy helicopter involved in the bin Laden attack May 1st. And also the Chinese engineers were able to take a piece of the skin of the stealthy helicopter back to China to study, because China does not have, the PLA Navy does not have a first-rate rotary-winged aircraft program. It certainly doesn't know anything about building stealthy aircrafts, neither do I, because I'm not a secret agent. But in any event, this connects to the fact that the people of China have a relationship with Pakistan and a particular aspect of Pakistan. That would be the ISI, who have been at the center of much controversy recently. And Arif Rafiq of Pakistan Policy Blog and foreignpolicy.com joins us now because of an incident over this last week that Arif has spoken of very carefully because there's been little information about it. A U.S. official with days to go serving in Pakistan was abducted or taken from his home. His name is Warren Weinstein. He was working in the northwest provinces, in the tribal areas, perhaps associated with intelligence, but certainly in the Pakistan media, I believe he's described as a CIA agent or some nefarious activity. Arif, a very good evening to you. What can you tell us of the latest information about who took Warren Weinstein and why?
Hi, John. Well, there's no definitive information as to who kidnapped Warren Weinstein. And Weinstein was he wasn't an employee of the U.S. government, but he was a contractor affiliated with the U.S. government, and he was performing development work inside Pakistan. He disappeared last week. He was kidnapped just 2 days before his scheduled departure from Pakistan. And the initial report suggested or speculated that it was criminal and or terrorist networks that were responsible for his kidnapping. But just yesterday, the law minister of the Punjab province, the province in which he was kidnapped, claimed that Weinstein performed the same activities as Raymond Davis, who was the CIA security officer or contractor who was arrested in January 2011 for killing two Pakistani ISI agents. So the suggestion from a Pakistani government official, who was also quite vociferous during the crisis involving Davis and made a lot of statements about him, is that this individual was an intelligence operative. Now, that's really unlikely given the fact that Weinstein is 70 years old, so he's far above the retirement age of a CIA case officer, and also he's fairly ill. He takes various medication for heart and heart-type illnesses, and so it's really unlikely that he was an intelligence affiliated with an intelligence organization. But apparently, some do believe that, whether it's in the Pakistani government or in the Pakistani street, and I think that puts his life potentially in jeopardy.
So connect the dots for us here, Arif. What does the law minister achieve, or does Pakistan achieve, by labeling this fellow an intelligence agent of the United States? Is that that for the domestic audience? Is it to get some concessions out of the United States to have a pawn to use in this negotiation with us? Connect the dots.
Well, some have suggested that the law minister was fed this question by journalists, and it was a loaded question that produced this answer. I don't see any evidence of that. If you look back at the January when the American CIA contractor was arrested, Rana Sanaullah, who's the law minister, had made several statements that basically coincided with what people affiliated with the ISI were saying off the record through their proxies in Pakistan, through other journalists. So it's possible that he is effectively doing the bidding of the military, and what the military might be trying to do is intimidate Americans that are either there in an intelligence capacity that they know of, or that others that are undercover, they want them to act more cautiously inside Pakistan. That's the hypothesis I'm running with right now, but at this point, for any of the theories that are around about this individual's disappearance, all of them are based on circumstantial evidence.
Arif, within these last hours, a report from Karachi, the super city in Pakistan, of mass murder, 30 or more people dead. Why?
Karachi, there's been about 400 people that have been killed in the past month, and in the past 3 years, about 5,000 people. There are multiple wars going on. There is one between the predominant population, the Muhajirs, and the Pashtuns, individuals who are migrants from the border regions that are impacted by the war in Afghanistan. They're fleeing that war. They're heading into Karachi because it's Pakistan's largest city. They're going there for jobs. So there's a fight going on between those groups. More immediate has been the battle between the Pakistan People's Party, which is the ruling party nationally, and in the Sindh province where Karachi is located. And they're in a fight with the MQM, which represents the predominant ethnic group inside Karachi. There was a fight over the local government, of its nature, and the PPP, during the midst of these various battles, made some concessions to the MQM, but some individuals within the PPP didn't like that, some of the hardliners. And now, before the deal is sealed, they've engaged in this latest campaign of violence, and it's only the latest in a period of violence that extends to about 3 years. And so this is a battle for Pakistan's largest city, and it goes on as Pakistan fights multiple wars in its west and its northwest.
Arif Rafiq of Pakistan Policy Blog. And finally, Mary Kissel, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And our favorite candidate for the Senate seat in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, is going to run against Scott Brown. And aren't we lucky?
That's another battle, John, of a very different kind.
We look to Elizabeth Warren's campaign soon enough for 2012. Thank you, Mary. I'm John Batchelor.